Today, we are going to do part 4. We're talking about the fourth dimension. We're taking Matias De Stefano's blog, and we are just looking at the law of one tarot and comparing it, really, because to me, both the law of one tarot is really in sync with almost everything that Matias De Stefano talks about. So I'm just going to do a bit of a recap from our last blog, so part 3. So part 3, let's start from the I am. The I am said, that's right, remember, dimensions are just facets, edges in the fractal geometry of life. So if you think of a box, what he's saying is that dimensions are just the facets, edges in the fractal geometry of life. So when we've got all these boxes, right? We see a box here. He calls them cubes as well. So this, he says, is a tesseract. This is a cube, but it's the edges here that are really important, because it's the edges that form, which is sacred geometry, which form your dimensions. The 3D space lives its life looking at the cube, but it goes through different processes with the cube. And if you notice, this is probably why the third eye, you see a floating third eye in this cube. I'm guessing this is why the third eye right here is in the cube, because the 3D space lives its life looking at the cube, but it goes through different processes with the cube. Imagine that the cube is your body. Your body went from being two separate cells, sperm and egg, to becoming a zygote, then a fetus, then a baby, a child, an adolescent, an adult, then an elder, and then dying to become other cells, dissolving things back into nature. So you see what he's saying? The 3D lives its life looking at the cube, but it goes through different processes with the cube. So this cube, which is within us, it is us. We are sacred geometry. We're just an antenna to sacred geometry. We go through this process with this cube she's sitting on. And if you notice here, she's sitting on the cube, but her feet are unsteady on this half moon almost, which makes me think, because the moon is a magnet. The moon pulls all your emotions. And the fact that the bottom of her feet are not grounded, it tells me that most of us, when we live unconsciously, we are going to live through our lower emotions. The sun ray is around the mind complex. It's definitely around the mind complex. You could see that beautiful circle, but it's just that the moon is making her unsteady. So this is electrical, right? The sun's charge is electric. The moon is magnetic. So when you have magnetization happening at the sole of your feet, I'm just gonna look at my law of one tarot here, just to make sure. Yeah. So when you have the sun electric around your head, your upper shoulders, the beginning of your spine, then you've got the moon magnetization closer to the root chakra, soles of your feet. The magnetization is occurring from the root chakra, and the root chakra in the beginning, possibly, I don't know. I'm just saying this because it's coming to me. So possibly what's happening is we're magnetizing, because we're unconscious at this point. Right here, we're unconscious, right? This whole catalyst is unconscious, the unconscious mind, and we're possibly magnetizing the lower emotions through the root, which gives us more insecurity. The root chakra is all about security. And that's how the patterns here in this matrix through the subconscious mind possibly are built. Then we need this electrical charge, which is the pineal, which is the crown, it is the throat chakra. We need this electrical charge in order to stimulate the pineal. But how are you going to do that when this magnetization, she's unsteady on her feet? She's not even touching the ground. She's not even grounding. So how is that going to happen if that root chakra is filled with this potentiator? This potentiates the catalyst, which is the subconscious mind, this whole mind complex, body complex, spirit complex. If all we're doing is falling off the tower in our lower emotions, how is this electrical, let's say this is the sun, but it is definitely a sphere. And remember, the sphere is time. So this here experience, the heart plexus, so this here experience, the heart plexus, you know what, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that in a bit. I just got thrown off a little bit. So if she's the adrenals, she's the adrenal glands, this is the digestive glands, and these are the sexual glands. So here, what I was going to say was that if this is a sphere and this is space right here, and this experience of the catalyst, the unconscious mind, here, 3D is space. Everything that we do is based from our senses, and we judge it from our space. And if this here, the experience is time, time is always going to be patterned by the matrix. Remember, we called this the patterns that she has created, the subconscious mind, the high priestess has created in the matrix of the mind. The matrix of the mind in the beginning is just total awareness. It's just beingness, which is actually feminine. Okay? So if she is pouring in the subconscious mind, so she's pouring in duality into these, and this duality starts by lines, right? And then these lines intermingle. Like, imagine a spider web. A spider web is very beautiful, but once a fly gets caught into it, you see what happens to the spider web? So this is a spider web, imagine, with a fly caught in it, which is your subconscious mind. What this experience, which is time, so time is like confused, and it's confused through this catalyst, the unconscious mind, who is solely going through senses and reacting based on the space that he or she is in. So because of this fly stuck in the spider's web, time, the patterns of time, they're not so linear. You can't see clearly because you're stuck here in the potentiator and here in the catalyst. And what happens is whatever the catalyst, the unconscious mind, and maybe this isn't the unconscious mind, maybe I'm wrong, let me know. This is 3D. So maybe this space, whatever our senses take in, whatever we imagine at that moment, because time, this here is also emotions. Right here, this experience of the mind complex, the emperor, emotions. Experience of the body complex, the strength card, emotions. The experience of the spirit complex, the moon card of the experience, emotions. Whatever emotion you feel in space, in this 3D, is projected right into 4D. If your timelines are all like a fly stuck in the spider's web, this 4D is just going to go based on your emotion. So if you're in a fearful emotion, like this hermit here, all this clothing of the body complex, depositing of the lower emotions, this 4D, your heart plexus, the tesseract, remember, this is what's projecting it back. This tesseract here, it is in your heart plexus, is going to send you back in this material world, whatever your emotion is. It's going to mirror it back. This here is a direct mirror to what is here in 3D. So, the 3D space lives its life looking at the cube, but it goes through different processes with the cube. Imagine that the cube is your body. Your body went from being separate cells, sperm and egg, to becoming a zygote, then a fetus, then a baby, a child, an adolescent, an adult, an elder, then finally dying. Oh, why did I say finally? Why did I say it like that? Oh my God. Sorry, guys. I don't know why I did that. And then dying to become other cells, dissolving things in nature. Your body multiplies its cells by millions daily. It is so important to keep our cells clean, the water of our body clean, because this helps the timeline, this here, because the time when it's happy, time is, it's a sphere. It goes back into a sphere. And I think this is why she's got this sphere around her head. Because what we're trying to do is make these mucky patterns with like I've explained, and we're trying to come to peace with space, come to peace with time. Remember last time I said maybe this here, this moon card represents space and time, as well as yin and yang, maybe. Your body multiplies its cells by millions daily, with which every day you transform what you are in cell multiplication, produced in a similar way to the tesseract. I think he meant tesseract, I don't know. 4D is constantly transforming you, but you only focus on the body, not on the temporal process, because the perception of 3D is designed to receive the pulses of the senses, not to assimilate the time as something real. For this reason, even though you know that time is passing, you consider it more an external measure than an internal process. This is what we were just talking about, literally. So this time here, this time, which wants to unravel this matrix, these mucky patterns, this time here in 4D time, hold on. The 4D is constantly transforming. Yes, but you only focus on the body, not the temporal process, because the perception of 3D is designed to receive the pulses of the senses, not to assimilate the time as something real. For this reason, even though you know that time is passing, you consider it an external measure than an internal process. So the only way that matrix will unravel is when we start looking at time internally and not through what space we're living in or how our skin starts sagging or how we're getting older. It's actually an internal process. And the reason being, like I said, the heart plexus is the tesseract. It holds the tesseract. And when this time here is respected and recognized, you will see the patterns. This matrix will not control you through your senses anymore. You will begin to see the patterns. For example, what has happened to me in my experience of this time density, 4D, I now will meditate on time lines or a sphere. Do you see all of these lines? These are possibly timelines that have come into a sphere around her head. So when I meditate, what I'm doing is I'm taking these timelines, but they're a sphere for me now, and I'm looking at them in not too much from my mind, but the cohesion of the heart and the mind. And I'm thinking about the timelines, but I'm also thinking, I always think, okay, past predicts the future. This timeline, let's look at my past. Okay, what was my emotion there? Okay, I feel it now. It's okay, so that's not me anymore. This is not the future that I'm looking at. I use this judgment card for transformation. First, I give death to that thought. I give it feeling. I give it acknowledgement. All right, well, that sucked. Okay, well, that's not what I want. So what do I want? I want something complete opposite. We live in a world of duality. If you don't want that shitty thing that happened to you 5 years ago, maybe you had a major heartbreak or something. So heartbreak, chaos, pain, suffering, all of that. What you need to do is you need to vibe. That tesseract within you, the vibration, you've got to get into a place back into love. You've got to do the exact opposite. And it's hard, man, but it's supposed to be. So how do you do that? You're constantly surrendering. You're constantly letting go. This constant letting go then brings death to the old emotions that are held in the body. This is very important. All emotions are held in your organs. This tesseract, this time here, it works off of your organs. The sacred geometry that the heart chakra, the heart plexus, the tesseract in it, that's why it's the middle here. The sacred geometry it creates through vibration, the tesseract, when it's starting to like open or close or hold, whatever the emotional pattern is, it's through the edges of the tesseract, through vibration, and the vibration occurs through your cells, which stimulate, which is, have water in them, stimulate, and it's like a process within the organs that goes upwards, and then you feel them, and the feelings is projected from 4D time. So going back to my example, I think of timelines now, but in a circle, because I am controlling my time. 4D now, this matrix here, this pattern, this subconscious mind is working for me, with me, as I cleanse my body every day, as I do yoga every day, as I drink more water every day, as I take the alkaline water or spring water that I drink, not tap water, I pray on it because I know water has memory, and I ask for consciousness to expand within me, my organs to clear of any downward negative emotion. And when I do that, I use this card here. This is the strength card. This is the strength card for the body complex of the experience that we have here that's projected onto us like a mirage, like a mirror. That was a tangent. Anyways, I'm sorry about that. Okay, so for this reason, even though you know that time is passing, you consider it more an external measure than an internal process. In 4D, time is palpable in the same way that in 3D, you can feel matter with your senses. The 4D senses can perceive time, smell the past, taste the future, touch the present, hear history, see what eternal. Thus, everything that was perceived by the senses throughout time is constituted as reality in 4D. That's what we just talked about. Yeah, so 4D, let's read this again. In 4D, time is palpable. So they play with timelines. Not matter, not space like here. In the same way that 3D, you can feel matter with your senses. In 4D, senses can perceive time, smell the past, taste the future, touch the present, hear history, see what eternal. This is like thinking back and just accepting what happened, not putting another sob story to it, just coming back here to the significant self in complete surrender, complete acceptance with love and understanding. This is wisdom. It's discernment without judgment. Okay. In other words, a being who lives only in 4D can manipulate processes and time in the same way we here manipulate matter and space. Yes. This is something you've already done, and it's the reason you were born. The decision of a birth, of your astrological chart, of finding the correct influence of the planets, of the stars, is a time plan. Oh, that's 4D. In which your being in 4D can mold itself and see what will be, what was, what it is, as if molding plaster clay. This is why I always say, I said this in the last vlog too, know your astrology, man. If you want to know more about your significant self, your I am, your spirit complex, look at exactly when you were born and what the planets and the stars were doing up in the sky if you really want to know. There's no such thing as purpose. This is all your spirit complexes, your soul's purpose. It's just experience. It's just learning and letting go and then moving on to the next space or timeline, whatever. And then the I says, they can see the future as if I were a landscape. The I am says, exactly. Imagine yourself traveling down a highway. The landscape that you will see has many levels. By perspective, the closest thing moves faster and the most distant seems slow. You can see them even if they are far away, knowing that they will arrive and get faster the closer you are. In 4D, what you will see will not be objects or landscapes, but circumstances. Thus, the closest or the furthest are situations in history. And this allows you to see what happens and will happen. See? Otherwise, unconsciously, your past will keep predicting your future. This is the fundamental basis of 4D, which is outside of space and can only understand it from the vision of time, exactly the opposite of 3D, because we only look at space, right? This is truly a life of polarities. The I says, from this dimension, the third, we can see space and understand time based on how space is transformed. Again, the transformation, right? How are your cells transformed? Internal. They hold information. Everything is in your body. Everything that you need is in your body. You know, when you cry, your tears, I can't remember where I heard this or read this. Our face is shaped like this purposely, because water holds information, your tears hold information. So when you cry down the tear duct, they're supposed to roll this way and right back into your mouth, because tears hold information. They can give you guidance. While in the fourth, the perception of space can only be given based on seeing what happens in time. I understand. Okay. The I am says, following the logic that the point or line is the base of the flat figure, and this is the foundation of the three-dimensional structure, then the physical object will be the foundation of the vision of time. For this reason, the 3D pattern or object is the one that shapes the potentialities of the 4D story, making all probabilities exist in itself. Let's read that again. That was kind of complicated. Following the logic that the point or line is the base of that flat figure, and this is the foundation of the three-dimensional structure. I said this in the last vlog too. This reminds me of the sun card, which is a significator, and it's a spirit complex. It just does, because there's a point right there, right in the middle of the sun, and this point has a line. Actually drew out a line, and then directly under the line, straight under, is they're holding hands. That's unity, oneness to me anyways. And then right here is they're in a circle, and if you put a dot there, it's probably going to be the middle of the circle again. And that's just what it reminds me of. I don't know why. So let's read it. Following the logic that the point or line is the base of the flat figure, and this is the foundation of the three-dimensional structure, then the physical object will be the foundation of the vision of time. The physical object in the sun card are the hands, right? The holding of hands, this yin yang. For this reason, the 3D pattern or object is the one that shapes the potentialities of the 4D story, making all probabilities exist in itself. So again, because I see it as through this sun card here, and I know this is 5D, but because this is just the way I see it, it's our bodies. It's our body complex, it's our cells, it's the water. So whatever we're thinking in this 3D and we hold on to in the organs, like I talked about, this is what becomes a story and projected back to you from 4D. It's emotions. So the eye says, as if there were many bodies inside my body, like a mamushka, a doll, a Russian doll connected by geometry with a smaller and smaller Matias towards the microcosm and an increasing larger towards the macrocosm. So last time I talked about how, let's say the doll is here, it starts here. It maybe, I don't know, that could be wrong, but going smaller this way from the experience and then going larger this way to the macrocosm. Oh, wrong one. And every time I transform, it's as if one of them takes my place, like a snake shedding its skin, yeah. But instead of leaving it, the skin is sucked in, letting the new one out, the tesseract. That's right. And that projection is multiplied at each level. What is inside then passes outside, and thus your sensations come true on 4D level. This explains why what you call hell, heaven, purgatory, and all those entities inhabit 4D. If you have negative thoughts and have fear, you're scared of anything, it'll be projected back from the 4D. Wow. The I Am says, because everything that inhabits 4D is nothing more than your own inner worlds. Your dreams, perceptions, sensations, ideas, beliefs, emotions manifested outside of matter, free of patterns, being capable of being external. Where before these concepts were part of the inner human world in 4D, they expand, becoming external factors. So it's 3D. So it is that 3D designs the realities of 4D. Wow. Like, for example, what? The I Am says, a trauma, a nightmare, something that you hide inside is projected outside in 4D, becoming eternal. It cannot hide in the past, and it becomes real, perceptible, making that nightmare manifest in this dimension. It's literally a projection of our thoughts through emotions. The vibration of our emotions is how 4D works on our organs, on our body complex. We're an antenna. If you are afraid of a specific animal, it will manifest as your greatest demon in 4D. The place that has given you most peace in life will become your eternal paradise in 4D. That's beautiful. You know, do you have a place? I have a place in my mind's eye, but I just didn't know that place that I always go to is 4D. It's like my peace and project it in 4D. It just feels, every time I go there, it just feels so real and it feels so good. I love it. The people you have loved in your life will receive you with the same love when you die and project yourself into 4D. As you can see, 4D is the eternal design field of everything you feel in matter. For this reason, everything you feel in matter, everything we feel is held and projected back by 4D. 4D is love and understanding. It's the experience. For this reason, in this dimension, you will find worlds similar to the ones you have left behind, but unlike matter, everything on this plane is eternal because it is the fractal and mirror plane of 3D. It is the place where minds feel most comfortable when they die. That's okay. It's also a mental plane. Death is like the great passage of this tesseract from 3D to 4D. And all those who are clinging to the images and expectations of their lives usually spend time without time in this dimension. Let's say that again. Death is like the great passage of this tesseract from 3D to 4D. For some reason, I don't know why, I think of the death card here, but it's actually under transformation. It's actually 6. It's your pineal, six dimension. So death is your passage, but it's also, I believe, the dimension of sacred geometry. Okay. I don't even know, where was I? Death is like the great passage of this tesseract from 3D to 4D, and all those who are clinging to the images and expectations of their lives usually spend time without time in this dimension. Spend time without time in this dimension, considering it hell or heaven, ultimate end of the soul. Because we're so enthralled in this space and matter concept, we spend time without time in this dimension. When in reality, it is not. It is just a mirage of the life you have experienced, but without the laws of time and space based on physics. So the I says, so everything we live in or exist in 4D is just distorted. It's just a distorted idea of 3D. The I am says, we could say that 4D is a decorator of the mind. Everything you feel or believe in this reality will be eternal reality if you remain tied to the energy after you die. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. This explains why each culture, religion, individual sees at death what conforms to its own expectations. Some see angels, others family, others Krishna, others Christ, others Muhammad, others geometry, others something psychedelic, others just nothing. The tunnel that most experience is not the passage from one place to another, but precisely a cube expanding. Again, at the end, it's a cube. We live through the cube. We die through the cube. But precisely a cube expanding and becoming another in this tesseract, going from a dense aspect to a subtle one, and therefore clarity is seen, light at the end of the tunnel. This kind of explains why there are so, in the mind complex, all of them are like, call it whatever, square, cube, tesseract, rectangle. It very much so makes more clear. This is very much so a mental plane on all of these dimensions. Maybe. We live through the cube. We die through the cube. But in a certain way, what you see after your death will depend on what you feel, again, 4D, and live in your death, on how you have lived your life. But in a certain way, okay, let's read this again, this whole thing. So the tunnel that most experience is not the passage from one place to another, but precisely a cube expanding and becoming another in this tesseract, going from a dense, the heart plexus, going from a dense aspect to a subtle one, and therefore clarity is seen, light at the end of the tunnel. But in a certain way, what you see after death will depend on what you feel and live in your death, on how you have lived your life. Yes. The I says, what I imagine is what becomes reality in 4D. Yeah. The I am says, for this reason, 4D beings take the forms you imagine. If you imagine demons, angels, entities, etheric insects, aliens, relatives, animals, plants, beings of light, psychedelic figures, utopian places, it is a deceptive dimension where everything is time disguised. And if I go there, is it eternal? Is it forever? Only if you say so. Eternity is a subjective sensation. A minute can seem like an eternity. Many spend long periods in this dimensional space, while on Earth, no more than 5 minutes have passed. Yeah, Ross says that too. Most of them are trapped in the idea of what they lived and wonder almost eternally. So they keep coming back, become attached to this world, the catalyst 3D. Ghosts, the I am says, yes. Souls that have been trapped in the passage from one dimension to the other because they do not want to let go of space, which makes them prisoners of time. The time is always pulling, right? If you let go, you will be able to manage time and eventually freely choose your next experience in space. That makes me wonder. So are we here? So is it like time, space, time, space, time, space, time, space? Because I believe in all 7 of these dimensions, and there's more, obviously, but I believe especially these 7, definitely there's a yin-yang component in every density dimension, whatever you want to call it. I truly believe that there has to be a yin-yang component for all of this to keep going. Now I'm thinking, is there also a space-time component? And you're just learning through each concept of space in the unconscious mind, of time as per the experience. Then do you go back into space learning within the significant self? And then time learning through transformation? Don't know. Otherwise, my very being, by magnetism, will force me to be born again in a similar pattern. The I am says, returning again and again, in which the tesseract becomes an amusement. It's like a ride in an amusement park, yeah. And the me I says, I myself will create what happens in 4D, and if I am not aware of it, it is the 4D that will create me. Yes. It is the constant and eternal cycle of the circular time process. This is where we want to get. We want to take all the timelines, make them a circle. There's another circle. And there's your yin and yang, or time and space, maybe. It is a constant and eternal cycle of the circular time process. The I says, is there a way to get out of the circuit? The I am says, not going out, because you would cease to exist, but you can learn to use it to your advantage, the 4D, to be useful and not control you. You must learn to live fully and harmoniously in 3D. Correct your nutrition. Gee, I wonder why. Allow emotions to flow, heal your traumas, transcend your fears, transform your ideas, beliefs, and patterns, open up all possibilities, practice detachment, and raise the vibration through joy. Can I read that to you again? This is so important. So, is there a way out of the circuit of 4D time? Yes, indeed, there is. For 4D to be useful and not control you, you must learn to live fully and harmoniously in 3D. Correct your nutrition. Get that alkaline balance and the pH balance good. Be more alkaline. Allow emotions to flow, heal traumas, transcend fears, transform ideas, beliefs, and patterns, open up to all possibilities. Circle. Okay. Practice detachment and raise the vibration through joy. You know what's super cool? So I wrote this reminds me of I wrote a children's book. I just have to show you guys really quick. And this reminds me so much of one of the pages in my book. So this is my book. And look at this. So I didn't even read that, but I just A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, J. Here, check out my J for the kids. Look at that. J is for joy. Isn't that so cool? That makes me so happy. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's a synchronicity. Hopefully the book does well. I just wrote it for fun. Okay, this is wonderful. So the inner cube of your tesseract is your heart. If it beats free and in harmony, everything you expand from it will invade all who you are inside and outside with love, connecting you with all your potentialities without clinging to any of them. What about those who say that you don't have to go to 4D, but that you have to get to 5D. 5D is the interconnection factor of 3D and 4D. 5D is interconnection. The 5D is the one that gives sense, logic, clarity to the other two. See, this is 5D, significant self, wisdom, and light. Right here, ladies and gentlemen, right here. This makes me so happy. Man, there's such a huge synchronicity with Ra's stuff and the stuff that Matias says, and I'm so happy that I, in my mind, can play with this. 5D is the interconnection factor of 3D and 4D. The 5D is the one that gives sense, logic, clarity to the other two. Tell me, without fully understanding either 3D or 4D, what do you hope to get from 5D? Yeah. How are you going to apply the sense and logic and clarity to what? In a way, it would be like having a beautiful remote control with no batteries and a broken TV. The me says, now I understand. Yes, the control would be the 5D, the batteries 4D, and the television 3D. To connect with 5D, it is necessary for time and space to be whole and in harmony. The I am says, if you do not achieve the balance, the 4D entities will live off of you. They will feed on your energy. They will see you as their batteries feeding on your processes, your times, and that is how you know the parasites, interdimensional of the low astral. See this, it says parasites here, but one thing I've been doing and I'm going to continue doing is a parasite cleanse, because our gut, our digestive system, which is right here in my mind's eye, it's the potentiator. And, you know, just to get all the mucky, it's literally your gut. It's full of shit, right? Like literally. So just to get like my pH right, be more alkaline, not only eat right, but do this parasite cleanse. I don't know why I'm talking about it. Maybe some of you have thought about it. So the astrals are here then, the I says. The IM says the astrals concept came from the Greek aster, which means star, the low, medium. You know what? We're going to talk about this next time. I lose track of time. I'm so sorry. The last video was so long. I didn't intend it to be, and I'm guessing this one is going to be as well. Anyways, if you followed along, thank you. If you want to purchase I wrote a Law of One Tarot workbook. I think these videos are going to be great for it because I try not to say anything about the cards, but I talk about my experience with the cards and give you some guidance on how you can use the cards like in your life. But first you have to work with them. So it's a workbook. Okay, not like giving you the answers. There are no answers. So these, if you follow along and you love this, it's making sense, you can purchase it on Amazon. I do have it on my website, but I haven't set up the square yet. I need to do that. I just don't know how. And I've been a little like lazy, which I shouldn't be. But anyways, I love you guys so much. I'll see you in part 5. Bye.